in the chapter in the book, when you write on this, you have this great formulation of hours spent in our lives, and it's something like, the maximum we might spend on church activities, including Sundays and maybe a small group or whatever, is maybe 10 hours.
Yeah.
And then if you take away sleeping and everything, I think you say it's something like 110 hours that we each have. The rest of is that right?
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
And that's quite a powerful way of displaying the amount of time we have outside of gathered worship to worship. So what does worship in those 110 hours look like for someone? I mean, obviously everyone's in different ages and stages of their work life or home-based life or whatever it is. But are there some key kind of theological principles? Like I think you mentioned Amos 5, justice. Are there some headline things that those 110 hours should be shaped by, would you say?
To me, those 110 hours are shaped by that overflowing. What we do when we gather, when we worship God and we come to give thanks and we come to repent, we confess, and we come together and we grow in worship. That has its absolute place, but then it's about overflowing that and taking that into life. And even in the simplest things, those are things that we should be doing in worship. Sometimes we're doing really mundane things. We're cutting the grass in summertime. We're doing the things. We're taking our kids to school in the busy rush hour, and it's quite stressful. But we're doing that all in worship to God, and we're giving thanks in all those things, and we're doing it, and we're praising Him, and we're thanking Him, and we're doing it for Him. And that all our work, anything we do, is to His glory. And when we do it to His glory, then we see fruit.
So is it because often, we hear this kind of idea and we think, oh my goodness, I need to do something big, like, okay, justice in my workplace, or, I need to be squeaky clean, righteous person, like I need to do something big and obvious. But it's not always that way, is it? There are small things. And I think in the chapter you tell a story of when you left the bank. Is this right?
Yeah.
Suddenly, out of the woodwork almost. But you tell the story, people came up and said, thank you for just who you've been, maybe small kindness or just your demeanor towards people. Just tell us a bit. Is that right? Is that the story?
Yeah, that is the story. I was quite taken by. I wish they'd come up a few years early because it would have really helped. But you just take for granted what you are, and people knew I was a Christian. Sometimes when the real difficulties, that they asked me more about my Jesus and what Jesus meant to me. But sometimes what they just saw was actions and behaviours. And on this last day, I was packing up all my stuff and people just were coming in. And some of them were big things like, thank you when you were there. And, when my mum died and you were there and you showed love and compassion. But some of them were, thank you for making us laugh every day. Thank you for the joy. And, I worked on really stressful projects. Thank you for in the stress, just turning it into laughter. And that really impacted me about, joy sort of sits through the good things and the bad things. And I had never realized that they'd recognized it was Christ in me. And one of the big things that I haven't written about in this was when I actually went to resign and said I'm going to my next big change program, and my boss said to me, oh my goodness, what's that? And I said, I'm going to serve Jesus full-time every day in the church. And he said to me, I've seen that coming for 6 years.
Wow.
And this was somebody who had no faith himself, but did still have the ability to recognize it in a Christian. And we still keep in touch, and they're so interested in how my life's panning out and why it's panning out in the way it is. We still keep lots of contact with each other.